Uh-huh.
Can you tell me how the luncheon's going so far?
Oh, it's going great. It's going excellent.
How many people?
We've had about 150 people, if not more.
And I understand that you're serving. Could you tell me a little bit about the project? Like how many people and where that you served at two places.
Okay.
How long you've been doing this?
Well, would you like to talk? The pastor would probably know more than I would. Let me go get her. Okay? Yeah, because she would probably know more than I would.
Are you the pastor? Can I interview you for WZT News? Could I just ask you about your project and maybe how many years you've been doing it? Just a little bit about what you all are doing today.
Well, what we're really doing today is trying to serve the Flower Club lunch. We were asked if we could serve, and we were more than happy to do it. This is really the first time that we've served the Flower Club, and we think that we're going to be doing this for quite some time. We're known for our Festival of Leaves dinner, but today is something special, so we're trying to do the best that we can with it. So far, everything's been successful, and we want to thank all of those who have come out to participate in this today. It's been so grand.
Thank you. What is your name? You're the pastor. Can I get your name and how to spell it?
My name is Lavinia Coleman, and you spell it Louvenia, middle initial R. My last name's Coleman, Coleman, and I'm the pastor here at Williams Chapel CME Church here in Front Royal.
Thank you.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, right there with the train. Okay.
Okay, let's see.
Watch out, don't get right in front of my shots, okay?
Well, the visitor center sold tickets to the event, and we're still selling them today, and they're going fast. And this morning we had a bus group come in from Frederick, Maryland, and that tour had been arranged with the Garden Club, and they asked us to come and help them host some coffee and donuts, and Mayor Banks was there. Is that right? George Banks, yeah. George Banks was there, and they were real tickled to meet the mayor. They were real excited that the mayor came down to meet them. And there were about 45 people on the bus. They will be going to all 4 homes today. They were also having lunch at the church. And luckily we had a beautiful day, so I'm sure they'll leave here with a great impression of Front Royal and Warren County.
I know that you all have historic garden tours in Winchester too. This is such a small place. Do visitors from all around come to this, or?
Well, I was noticing the sign-in book out on the porch here. The majority of the folks, it looks like, are from Front Royal or nearby. However, I'm sure that there are quite a few people who are visiting from other areas and may have just stumbled upon the tour or else came here on purpose from D.C. or Maryland or, close enough to drive for a day trip. So I'm sure the more it's promoted every year, the more people will get from the outlying areas.
Yeah, so does an event like this bring in a lot of tourists, or probably not?
It does, and the great thing about it, especially with the motor coach tour, is if these people enjoy the area and they see how beautiful it is, they'll go home and all 45 of them will tell all their friends, you have to go to Front Royal, it's gorgeous. And then they'll tell their friends, and that's how it works. It's a snowball effect. So anytime you can get a whole motor coach full of people, it's excellent.
I'm just doing mostly the gardens. And this is Mrs. LaHue, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And this is Mr. LaHue.
Everybody would have come.
Oh, did the bus come in yet? Here?
Did the motor coach group come here? Yes.
Yes, they came around in. They went to Garden first and came here.
Thank you for talking to me. These came from the old Presbyterian church.
Are you enjoying living back in Front Royal?
Yes, I am.
Well, good.
Get back into it. Your husband showed us this morning at Garden.
Yes, they
Caught him. Your father and your husband. Yeah. Your father and your husband.
Hi.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Excuse me. I'm Janet Markle from Winchester, Virginia, and I'm a member of the Virginia Lyceum. It's a civilian reenactment group in the Winchester area, or living history. We do both.
And my name is Walter Jagalo. I'm from Stevens City, and I actually know the owner of this house, and he has seen us on other events, and he asked me if I would mind coming here, and since they were doing the garden show the period of dress, and I was able to get one of my associates in my group, and we've just been enjoying the day out and showing off this lovely house and learning a little bit about the history.
Let me see if I can get just a little bit closer. I should have brought my microphone. No one's been wanting to talk today.
Where's your car?
Right out there.
Well, wait.
Let's see. Could you tell me a little bit about what happened in this house during the Civil War?
Well, as I believe, it was used strategically for the Confederacy. And I don't know exactly when. At some point that it was put into Union hands, and I understand Mosby and his group played a role in recapturing it back and actually capturing a Union captain who was in charge of this house. I believe Mosby captured him somewhere between here and the lodge, which is just, I guess it's north of this house in the woods. And it's been, I think it was mostly under Confederate leadership during that time. There's still stories of this house being haunted. The owner said there's been many times where things have disappeared, little things, especially corks from bottles, wine bottles, doors not being able to open. Certain people going in a bathroom, not being able to open the door to get back out. Usually it seems like it happens to women more than it does the men, from what I understand. I believe there was a story on the summer cottage, which is attached to this, or the guest house. A door was closed after people already left and locked from the inside, and they had to take the door off the hinges to get it back open. And he said he's never had any bad problems. They've been noisy at times. And that generally it's been when there's been a major reenactment, like Cedar Creek, something like that, where you don't hear the noises. But he says he hasn't heard anything much lately. But there have been noises in the past. I think he's had the house, the owner's Colonel William Hammock. He's a retired Marine colonel. I believe he's been in the house somewhere in the neighborhood of about 4 years. I don't know for sure. And he did an awful lot of, I don't want to say just renovation, I want to say almost restoration in many parts of the house. I think the Kenner family had occupation of this house for approximately 90 years. I believe it was somewhere from the 1840s to the 1950s or 1940s. I don't know the exact dates. They have literature on that. I don't know what families had it after that, but there was a period of years where I believe it was vacant. And I think when the colonel purchased the house, no one had lived in it for years, and he undertook quite a task in making it livable again and making it the way you see it now. So I hope that's all right.
That's good.
Probably more than you.
Oh, sorry.
Let's see. You're the chairman of the Warren Front Row Historical Garden Tour. Could you tell me? Could you tell me a little bit about what role you play and other people played in this event?
I'd be glad to. First of all, I'd like to thank you so much for being interested in our tour and coming and taking all these nice photos and being so gracious with all the people on the tour bus and just our general visitors. It has been my pleasure for several years to be the tour chairman. I have a wonderful committee that always works with me. It does change from year to year. This year on my committee I've had Mrs. Edgar Baldwin, who was our overall flower chairman, Mrs. George Chapman, who was my community service coordinator, Mrs. Larry Dillard, who with her husband, and also Nancy Chapman and her husband Chaps, who put up all the signs that you've seen all throughout town. My husband and I went around and double checked on everything. Mrs. Earl, who's at the end of this table, is our advertising chairman for the official page that we have in the official guidebook that shows all the various businesses in Front Royal and Warren County who've been so great in supporting us. Mrs. W.H. Garner is our tea chairman. Mrs. Arthur Maddox is here today at the Blanton House, and she has written all the publicity that is within our official brochure that I hope you have had the opportunity to see and to read. Mrs. A.P. Thompson handled all of our hostesses for each home, and that's quite a job to coordinate. Mrs. Norman Upchurch is our president, and she has been there to help with anything that needed doing right along every step of the way. I think she and I spoke for the last time last night about 10 o'clock. And then Mrs. Benjamin Weddle was our luncheon coordinator chairman. The tour bus that we had their luncheon at Bell Boyd Cottage area that's with Ivy Lodge, that is part of the Historical Society. Mrs. William Wheat has been our tour group chairman. She greeted the bus this morning at 9:30 at the Chamber of Commerce, and Debbie Hunter was there to assist her and be our shepherd. She's been with the tour bus all day, making sure they did not get lost and leading them on their way. The tour bus was also greeted by our mayor, Banks, this morning, as well as the director of the Chamber of Commerce, Kitty Zuckerman. In addition, we've had the help of a lot of husbands, not just in understanding and support, but actual hands-on. Sharon Maddox, whom I mentioned earlier, who had done all the wonderful write-ups on each home, her husband Arthur was on shuttle duty with us today, but he has been our photographer for a number of years. The homes must first be photographed before they are actually drawn by the artists that give their services each year. My husband, Chip Slickson, has been great in his support and understanding all throughout this year, but this week he's helped me with everything from special made names tags for each hostess to being in charge of all the security in the homes as well as the traffic flow. We have had the help of Dr. Wheat, that's Judith Wheat's husband, in being the chairman coordinator of all of the shuttle drivers, which is quite a task. This is really a wonderful community effort. So many people have pitched in so many ways. The luncheon was at Williams Chapel, and all of the tour proceeds from the luncheon go to the chapel, which will be used for their restoration. The proceeds that are taken at each home for your ticket purchase are given to the Garden Club of Warren County. They are not kept by our club. They all go back to the Garden Club of Virginia, and they are used for the restoration and preservation of historic sites. This is the 64th year for the tour, and over the years we have made in the neighborhood of $5 to $6 million. All of that money has gone to the wonderful recreation, if you will, at Monticello, the University of Virginia, homes all over Virginia. In our particular area, the Bell Grove Plantation, you will see how lovely it has now become as a result of all these restoration funds. I'd like to point out that the drawings that are within the brochure are on display in each of the homes. They are done by different artists. The Blanton House was done by Kay Witt. The Eastham House was done by homeowner and artist Pat Windrow. Bel Air was done by Sarah Wickham. Sarah generally specializes in portraits, but she does beautiful home and landscapes as well, and she has done that for a number of years. And Nancy Kibler, who was with us for the first time last year and did the drawing of the Grady House, again did this year the Guard Hill House, and she has taken a unique concept of incorporating figures that are of the period on the grounds of the home. And Colonel Hammock, whose home she did, Guard Hill, picked up on that idea after he and I had a little discussion, and he was able to get people in period costume to be there on the grounds that made people feel that they had really indeed stepped back in time today. We hope that everyone who's been on the tour has enjoyed it. It is, as I've said, a community effort that involves the efforts of so many people. It would not be successful without all of our help. And you as viewers and guests are most needed, and we hope you will come again and again. This year the response has been overwhelming. Of course, this year we have had a blessing again this year, but I think this is the third year in a row of no rain, and that's always a big help. However, I would say that this tour before today, and of course I have no way of knowing the statistics, I'll know those after 5 o'clock tonight, seems to have had more response than what we have ever had. And of course we just hope for that each year, that's a little bit bigger and a little bit nicer in every regard.
It's getting crowded in here. Thank you. Which books did you write? Which books were you the author
I wrote, you're not going now, right?
Oh, well, I was taking... Here, I'll turn it.
Now, if they just give you the money to do it, let me give you the money. What's money? Time.
Her brother, Rice Matthews, is a stonemason. He did all the stonework and the fountain. And Lori and her husband came here at the patio. And last fall, she planted 500 pansies and 490 tulips. And when they were married several years ago, they registered at the local garden shops. And for wedding gifts, they received the shrubs and the trees and the please feel free to browse. They have, the dog is out fishing. The cat is a pupper. There's a picture of the dog.